Hi there, this is Debbie from craftiercreations.blogspot.com, and today I just wanted to come and show I'm going to say a quick video, but we'll see how quick it is, how to do some watercolor backgrounds. So in my monthly club, I always offer a bonus class, and this month we're using the Tropical Hideaway stamp set. Awesome stamp set. If you don't have it, you should get this one. Anyway, this was a card I decided to use for a swap with other demonstrators. That quick, easy, but it was also using watercolor background, and since it's National Watercolor Month, how perfect was that? Now, I had some watercolor pieces already made up from, I don't even remember when I made these, but sometimes I just sit down and we'll do some watercoloring and make a whole bunch of backgrounds all at once. If you're going to make the mess, you might as well do a whole bunch at once and save them for when you might need them. And that was how I did this card. I just pulled from my stash, and then the other ones that I needed for the swap, the same thing. I didn't have to make more. But I wanted to show you how I came up with this particular one. Now, for my monthly club this month, we're using the Blessings of Home bundle, but we are doing watercolor for a lot of those cards too. And I didn't do it the way I'm showing you today. We were using the water painters and the pastel chalks and did a whole bunch of stuff with that. But this way is one of the more popular ways that a lot of people do watercoloring. Now, I like to use either shimmery white, and that's what I've used here. These are all on shimmery white, or watercolor paper. And I already have some pre-cut here. They're cut bigger than what I would normally use on the card front, and that's so I can cut it down, and then I have a little strip to put on the inside if I want. And then our watercolor paper is 5x7, I think, which you can either cut down for just a standard card front of 4x5 1/4, or you can just cut it in half. Yeah, they're 5x7. Cut it in half and have 2 3.5-inch pieces and work with it that way. If we have time, if I don't get too long in the video, we'll go ahead and make a card at the end, but it's going to look very similar to this, so we'll see how my time frame goes. And this morning, real quick, I did do one, and this one is a little bit darker, and that's because I added Starry Sky versus these are mostly with like Balmy Blue, Pool Party, and it could have even been with Soft Sky, which is retired. It's hard to say. These were all lighter blues, but I decided to throw in a little bit of the new Starry Sky, which gives it a little bit of a purpley look. So totally different look than what I had there. But let me go ahead and show you how I do it. And I might even bring in a little bit of the Tahitian Tide with this one instead of the Starry Sky. We'll see. I always start with the lighter color. So we're going to put Balmy Blue down, and we're going to put Pool Party down, and I might put a little bit more over there. I mean, you can tap these as much as you want. Now, the Starry Sky is very dark, so what I did is like barely tapped it in a few places, because if you put this like down, you're fine placing this here because these are all lighter, so it's not going to show up here, but you're going to get a very bold Starry Sky look color because it is very dark. That's what made this one a little bit darker, was this is the Starry Sky bleeding in. So it's going to depend on what you want going on there. So I'm going to bring in one of the pieces of watercolor paper. Now, I always spritz both sides of the paper, and then I'll spritz here. And the reason I do both sides lightly is it helps to prevent the warping. I'm not going to do it right here because I have so much laying out, it'll probably spritz everything. So just real quick off camera, I'm just spritzing it. You probably hardly can tell it's wet, but as you can see, it's not warping. Then what I'm going to do is spritz all of this, and I'm going to spritz this really good because I want lots of water here to kind of start blending together. And then all I do is plop it down, and I just kind of push and let it do some soaking up. I'm going to grab a paper towel real quick that I forgot to grab. And of course, at any time, you can start picking it up and taking a look at what you got going on. And if you like it or not. Oh, isn't that pretty? Oh my gosh, it's just so pretty. And of course, you can let these run and bleed just a little bit. Now this one's really pretty. I like it. I don't have as much of the starry sky in it, which I really like. So there we go. There's one. Now this is with the watercolor paper. I'm going to set it over here to dry. Now I'm going to pull in one of the smaller pieces from the shimmer white paper. And I'm going to kind of plop it right here. Now I know that's a big blob of the starry sky there, but that's okay. We'll see what this does. Now this paper isn't as thick as watercolor paper, but it works really well. Now this is going to be second generation pulling all this in, so it is going to be lighter, but the nice thing is you can kind of drag it around and move it around to pick up more ink if you want, if you're not getting what you like, which I'm going to do here. I'm going to see if I can pull in just a little bit more. Oh, there we go. I like that. And then what I'm going to do here is just dab up a little bit of this excess that is kind of running off here. Now, this one looks totally different than the first one and is much lighter. It'll still work. Okay. Now, I'm going to wipe this up, because now I am going to try the Tahitian Tide, and I'm going to see how much it changes it. Now I'm just using a craft mat here. I've had this for years. I think you can buy them out on Amazon. I'll look and put a link if I don't forget about that. If you don't have a craft mat, of course, you could just have paper down, but it will soak up a lot of paper. Wax paper works really good if you don't have a craft mat. All right, so let's pull in. Okay, this time I'm not going to use the Starry Sky. I'm going to try the Tahitian Tide. So let's put down some Balmy Blue, some Pool Party, and again with the Tahitian Tide, because I'm not sure how it's going to be a little bit darker. So let's just kind of blop it around a little bit. Like my technical term, blop it. And I'm spritzing here. I'm spritzing right here. I think I'm doing okay not getting everything wet. And then we're going to spritz this up. Get it really good and wet here. And again, plopping that down, and I just kind of push it. And once it hits it, it doesn't want to curl up because we spritzed both sides of it. Again, I'm bringing in a paper towel. Okay, let's take a look. Ooh. I like the Tahitian Tide. I'm glad I glanced over and kind of thought, ooh, Tahitian Tide, yeah, that one would look really good. Yes, that is awesome. That's going to make a very pretty background for this stamp. I'm going to let that drip off just a little bit there. Now I'm just laying these, I have my chair behind me, and I have a piece of our blotter paper down. I'm just laying them on top of that to dry. Now, when I do things like this, I'll do a whole bunch at once, and then I let them dry on their own. If you're in a hurry, and when you're making these, you can always dry them with your heat gun. But like I said, when I start making a mess like this, I just like to make a whole bunch at once, let them dry, and then go back later and start stamping with them. More just of the blues, which is kind of probably what some of these might have been, like second generation of soaking up the inks. Like I said, I don't remember, but I like it. Let's get a little bit more of that Tahitian Tide in there. Now, not as many colors going on here, but that doesn't mean it's wouldn't work. It's still got a great background going on here. Especially when you kind of let some of that stuff drip. And you could add a little bit of something else. Like if you wanted to add, oh, I know what I can do. So real quick, we're going to add a little bit of the Parakeet Party, and I'm going to show you another way to like add ink if you've already got something going on here, because you don't want to do this when it's all wet there, but you can do this. Our clear blocks are great to use as a palette. Now we're going to see what happens here. Didn't have that planned. I kind of just thought that one up. Oh, so pretty. At least I think it's so pretty. Oh my gosh, that Tahitian Tide and that Parakeet Party together with those blues, that is really pretty. Like it changed the whole effect of the card, honestly. Okay, this is pretty wet, so I don't really want to soak up anymore. Okay, I have one more here that I'm going to go ahead and spritz up, and I'm going to see what we end up with here. I may have to add a little bit more of a color, and like I said, the easiest way to do it is with a block. And like I could wipe this up, and I think what I'm going to do is add some Tahitian Tide like around here. I'll lift this up in a minute, and I'll spritz it again probably, but I'm going to see what I've got going on. Not bad. Now, if you don't like your hands getting all inked up and dirty and like ink in your fingernails and that kind of stuff, you certainly can wear gloves. It doesn't bother me. Ooh, that's so pretty. I love it. I love making backgrounds like this. There's so many possibilities of what you can do with them after you're done. You don't necessarily just have to stamp on them. You could use them for die cutting. So many possibilities. Okay, so that was what I had wanted to show you for the main part of it. So let me wipe this clean here, and then I'll pull in one of the dry ones that I already have here, and I'll just show you how I stamped it. And I don't have the words die cut or anything, but we can figure it out. Now when I use, let's see, I'm going to close this up. I'm going to close this up, and we're probably going to use the Starry Sky, but let's see here. We'll pull in one of these, and I know that these are other blues, but that Starry Sky worked perfect stamping before. When I use a big bold stamp like this, I use the Stamparatus. So I'm going to put my case under here. I'll just leave my blotter paper down, and I'm going to do this. Now because this is bigger than the piece of paper, and even if you had a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which some of the ones we just made were, I still, you can't use the magnets because it's still going to cover it. So I just put a little tiny piece of tape there. Line this up wherever you want to start with. And then I'm just going to lay this down like this. And that should be pretty good. It should be covering the whole thing. We're going to pick it up. Now remember, this is a foam red rubber stamp, so we don't need the red rubber mat underneath. If it was photopolymer, then we would need the red rubber mat underneath. And I'm going to ink this up with the Starry Sky. We're going to try that. Even though I know this color was not used to make those, because this is Starry Sky is a new color, I think it's going to work well. And that's how I did this one. I stamped the Starry Sky on all those light blues in the background, and I thought it was perfect. Now you could do this with greens, pinks, reds. There's so many color combinations, yellows. That's what I was adding. That Tahitian Tide was perfect to the now. The nice thing about using the Stamparatus is, like right here, I can tell I didn't push down quite hard enough. And I'm going to ink it back up one more time and flip it over. And I know I'm going to rub along there. I probably didn't put very good pressure there. And there we go. Isn't that pretty? And look how quick this would now come together. You could just layer it up on a piece of Starry Sky and put a piece of basic white underneath there, and you know, your phrase. I used the Charming Sentiments here, the hexagon dies, die cut it, put a little bling, added some ribbon, and you've got a beautiful card. But you could make so many of these very, very quickly. So that's it for today. I just wanted to show you how I do watercolor, or one way you can do watercolor backgrounds. I will post a picture of this card with it, and then I will probably make a couple of the other cards of the backgrounds we just made as soon as they're all dry, and I'll post that along with this video. And you can find all the details on my blog, my Facebook page. If you like this video, please like it, follow me. I would truly appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.